Good evening. Today is the Gary Common Council Finance Committee meeting for Tuesday, January 12th. On the agenda tonight are 5 ordinances. The first one is 2078, which is an ordinance authorizing the rollover of temporary interfund loans due between City of Gary funds. And is Arlene here?
I am.
Oh, okay. So you're gonna do that one, I assume.
Yes.
Okay, we're ready.
Okay. 2020-78 is an ordinance authorizing the rollover of temporary loans between City of Gary funds. Every year, the city comes before the council to ask that we be given additional time if we have not repaid temporary loans by the end of the year, to be given a 6-month extension to repay those loans. The loans that are listed on the ordinance, there are the redevelopment ordinances should be repaid within that 6-month period. In fact, it should be early 2021. But the remaining ordinances are actually loans that have been on the city's books for a number of years. They have been repaid or paid down, maybe I should say, periodically, and been reduced from their original amount, but they are not actually anticipated to be repaid by June 30, 2021. The remedy for this, right now, what we have to do is ask for the ordinance to have these loans rolled over from 2020 until 2021. But the remedy for this is actually going to have to be an ordinance where we come to the council to request actually a write-off, because in many respects, these loans have been used by the general fund years ago, and they're just on the books going from year to year. And this has got to be one of those reconciling items that we take care of in the controller's office. So that's a part of the work that I have to do this year in that office to make sure that this gets cleaned up. But right now, this ordinance is requesting as of December 31st that we roll over these loans.
Okay, so it's 16 million?
Yes, overall.
Okay. All right.
And also, I have to ask too that this ordinance be retro back to December 31st, 2020, because that was when the effective date should have been. I think this ordinance was originally introduced at the December 1st meeting, if I'm not mistaken. It would have been on third and final, or maybe it may have been December 15th that it was originally introduced, but it should be done as of December 31st.
All right, anybody have any questions? I know we do these every year, but I didn't know if anybody had any questions or comments.
Madam Chairman, I have a question of the Chief of Staff.
Yes.
Haven't you received audit exceptions on money you're now saying?
Yes. This has
So
been,
you have audit exceptions on that?
This particular ordinance addresses the issue for 2019. In fact, it was picked up again in 2019, but the audits, there were previous audits that had the same audit exception. So that's why I said there's work to be done in order to completely correct this. Yes, it has been on the book.
What was the previous response to this? You saying it's $16 million?
Yes, and the amount changes because some of them, for example, I just mentioned, there are about 3 on here from redevelopment, which might have added maybe an additional 3 million to it. Some of them get paid off. So there's some that actually get paid off during the year, but there are some that have been on here for a number of years.
Yeah.
Just off the top of my head, I know the one to the media fund has been here for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, we have had audit exceptions, and that's the short answer, Councilman Lay.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
Madam President?
Yes.
Madam Chair, so out of all of these funds here, Which one do you think that the city might be looking forward to repaying back?
We're repaying Blight Elimination Fund. That's the 1.2 million. Any of the ones that deal with redevelopment, those are the ones that we're repaying. The ones where redevelopment is doing interfund transfers, those are going to be repaid. So if it's one TIF to another, for example, those will be repaid. The others, and if it's from the Blight Elimination Fund to some other fund, that will be repaid. Those particular funds we are getting reimbursements from other agencies. For example, the Blight Elimination Fund is receiving money from IACDA for the demolition of the various properties that we tore down. So we're slowly getting the claims back in to reimburse that. The others, like General Fund, the Media Fund, General Fund to TIF, like I'm looking at the first page, those have been on here for a number of years. Those will not be repaid. Not anytime soon.
Okay. So like I see the park fund, and then I guess it was to the Wheel Tax Road Fund?
That will be repaid.
Okay. Because I asked about that one because I know there's funds that continue to come in on that one there.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So I didn't see the two in the from, but okay. We're from to. Okay. All right. I got you. Thank you, Ms. Colvin.
Anyone else?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Attorney Colvin, I just had a request. Is it okay for you to maybe send us an updated list that shows when the funds were initiated, and then the information that you're stating for those that are relevant, which ones will be paid, et cetera?
Before this meeting, I had attempted to go back and look in audit reports to see when these loans were initially made, and I'll complete that work and send it to you.
Okay, thank you, Attorney Colvin.
Anybody else? Okay. If there are no other questions. Nobody? Okay.
Councilwoman Brown?
Yes.
One last question. I'm sorry I took so long. So I know you said you're going to come back before us with this. How soon do you think you will be coming back for us to go ahead and deal with this?
It's going to be sometime in the first half of the year, because what we have to do, in addition to just seeing what's still owed, we have to also see what we can pay back. And then these amounts might actually reduce a little. So that's going to take a little time when we do bank transfers.
Okay.
That's part of the reconciliation process.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Okay, 2020-81, which is an ordinance approving incentive pay for fire suppression employees. So are we ready for that one?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
This ordinance corrects an audit finding from the 2019 audit as well. Back in 2013, the then fire chief gave incentive pay to individuals who were either paramedics and firemen, or people who had their EMT certifications or their paramedic certifications, and they were also firefighters. And that incentive pay was never approved by the council. In this year, in the 2019 audit, the auditors caught that and saw that that had happened and indicated that that needed to be corrected. So what we're doing with this audit is, first of all, correcting it for the 2020 year so that it won't be another issue again. It won't be an audit finding in the 2020 audit. And also having the incentive pay approved, so as we go forward, this won't be an issue again.
Yeah, okay.
The paramedics will receive incentive pay of $4,030 annually. That's what they get. And the EMTs receive $1,938 annually.
Okay. Questions, comments?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I had two questions. So for one, I just wanted to confirm if I understand correctly. So Attorney Colvin, from 2013, the pay has been extended to these particular workers. It just wasn't an ordinance to
Right.
confirm it. Okay. And then I also had a question about the language within the ordinance. So on the, I guess it would be the second to last line, the second whereas to the end, where it states that it referenced the general fund 101-290. And so I'm assuming that that is reference to talk about the salary budget, but that particular ordinance did not have EMT or paramedics referred to in that department fund.
These individuals are firefighters.
Okay,
So, but
Okay.
they have these certifications, the EMT certification and the paramedic certification.
got it. Okay, so
So-
it's different than the 305, the employees
Yes.
that are listed on 305. Okay,
Madam Chair,
Yes,
just probably from my ignorance, these dollars, this is over and above their budgeted salary, correct?
That's right.
Okay, and this, how is this fund funded? From where?
They
To the
usually
dollars.
have been paying this from other compensation within the department,
Some, like, so,
other compensation line item in their budget.
okay, okay. Do we have anything similar in the police department for in any kind of way?
Whatever the police department pays in terms of certifications, they've been approved by the council. So this was done by a fire chief. So we had to make this correction. Normally, any incentive pay is approved by the council and it would be in the other compensation line item. In this particular case, this is the only certification that's not in there. And this is what we're trying to correct.
Okay, so in the future,
So
it will
both of
be,
them, both sets of individuals do have certification pay other than this. So the police have certification and the fire too,
okay,
depending upon what their specialties are. So for instance, you get SWAT pay. I'll just use that as an example.
okay. Okay, thank you.
So Madam Chair, so this
Yeah.
pay here, it's not compared to the cross-training pay then, is it?
No,
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 this is totally
this
different.
is just for firefighters who also are certified to be either paramedics or EMT.
Okay, thank you.
anybody else? Okay, if there are no more questions, we'll move on. 2020-83, which is an ordinance establishing a new fund, departments and budget for the Section 108 Loan Debt Reserve Fund.
Councilwoman, can we go back to 82?
Oh, we skipped 82. Oh, my. Yeah, we can.
Okay, I just wanted to let you know that there are two unions that actually have Columbus Day. The FOP and the SEIU have Columbus Day as a holiday. So that might impact how you want to handle the holidays. I also want to let you know that this ordinance needs to be retroactive back to January 1.
Okay, because I do recall, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, we did not do Columbus Day, and then we
It was
found
last
out that that union did in fact have that as a holiday.
Right.
So,
We should go ahead and now we should do 22.
I'm sorry. So, okay, so I guess we'll just leave it as is.
I'd like, Madam Chair,
Uh-huh.
one thing I will probably suggest as an amendment, I know Columbus Day is very controversial. Councilman Brewer educated me on that, but that was a
Right.
big issue. I might do an amendment that we rename the day First Americans Day or something along those lines. They will still obviously get that calendar day off, but we'll call it First Americans or something like that. I will likely make an amendment to that effect.
Okay.
Madam Chair, could I get a little bit more of a definition of First American Day? We going back to 1619 when there was African Americans came here as indentured servants.
Well, I think that to your point, if I may, Columbus Day is controversial because we know that I can't even remember the name of the.
1492. He's never been to America.
You're right, exactly, not the United States of
Indigenous
America.
Peoples Day.
Well, yeah, we can come up with
He
different.
didn't live in North America. He was actually in
Caribbean.
the East. He was in the East somewhere.
Right.
Right.
So I think that we could, any name. I just want to acknowledge the fact that it is controversial, but we can use a name other than Columbus Day or America's Day, Indigenous Peoples Day.
What about in honor of the mayor, Richard Gordon Hatcher? Are we just going to pick on that random name? He's the first African American to be mayor of a major city. I understand Stokes and Cleveland.
I like that too.
We'd
And I
be great
believe
to-
the statue was the event for the statue was around that time, I believe, right? That was early October.
Well, what we had done in the past, we had given that day as election day. Okay, so since we don't have an election this year, then, we can just go ahead
It's just a number of days. Really.
and do,
School's out.
Always out.
yeah.
So
Are you going to come up with a day, Councilman? I mean, and
I had not, personally, I had not planned to, but if my colleagues want to come up with a day, then that's up to them. I wasn't.
I like Councilman Lay's suggestion of Richard Gordon Hatcher Day. I believe that October 11th is pretty close. I think, I could be wrong, to when the statue was unveiled. It may have been in September.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Uh-huh.
my thing is, for the past few years, we have not been honoring this day, and I have a question for us, the union. Why would they include this as one of their holidays when they know in the past at least 3 years, I know we have not been honoring this day?
No, we haven't.
I can answer that. This is Rodney, the city attorney. The union contracts have been on evergreen clauses for quite some time. So I think the issue didn't even arise until after it had come to the attention of the union in the first year that the council had taken Columbus Day, and in full disclosure, they've requested that instead of Columbus Day, they would actually have a different designated day. There's been talks of potentially maybe they would get their birthday off or something like that, something of that nature, something that was a little bit more fluid. But because of that evergreen clause, the contracts remain the same for a couple of years now. I think the police union contract hasn't been done for at least 4 years running now. So I think it was right around the same time. It wasn't done intentionally. It wasn't an oversight. It's definitely something that's been in negotiation.
So if that's the case, would the union have a problem if we picked another day to give them a day off? Because I know originally when we got rid of Columbus Day, we compensated the unions with Christmas Eve and New Year's.
And that's what we've
Turning those into
done.
4 days instead of half a days.
That's what we've done in the past. They've gotten a half a day. Previously, they were only getting a half a day. Now they get an entire day for Christmas Eve, an entire day for New Year's Eve. So that's what we did. And then, there was no election day. So we just, I don't know.
Yeah, and I know that the unions, you're absolutely right. That's your recollection of that is spot on. I think the union's position on that was that that change would take somebody who was given, because if you come in for a half day, you still get paid for a whole day. So
Right.
those half days, they were getting paid full days, even though they were only required to work the half days. So Christmas Eve, they were getting a paid full day.
Mhm.
New Year's Eve, they were getting paid a full day. So we were essentially taking at least one full day away from them by replacing those. So I know that was the issue that they were having with that.
And I don't want to pick a random day because then I'm just going to say, if I may, that so as much as we may not, some of us may have a problem with Columbus Day, it is convenient, right? If you're a parent, because we know that schools and other organizations are off that day. So my only concern about picking birthdays, first of all, that's probably administratively difficult if you got all these random days where people are calling off. But secondly, just from a convenience perspective, we know that the federal government I think is closed. So there's a lot of other entities that affect people's lives that I think if we were going to pick a day, why not pick one where people are already generally off, just as a matter of convenience. That's the only thing I would say in terms of keeping the day.
Oh,
Wisdom of the chair, Madam Chairman. Of the president, I should say. Wisdom of the president.
oh, the president. Okay.
Well, the chair has wisdom too, but the president is the one to talk.
Thank you, Councilman.
Yeah.
Madam Chair. Madam Chair.
Protocol requires me to say things nice during the meeting.
Thank you, Attorney Lay.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Yeah, just a question. In sake of doing something for the benefit of the employees, how about considering a floating holiday?
Yeah.
Whereas each individual will have an opportunity to use that day for whatever may be convenient for them. But a floating holiday as opposed to establishing just one day where everyone will be off. This way individuals will have a little flexibility in the usage of that time period or the usage of that time off.
Madam Chairman.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I'd like to go back to Mr. Godwin. That's very shaky to do it that way. In other words, rather than operate with an individual, let's operate with the whole group. Give it a very specific day, to track people being off when they so desire, I think would be quite disruptive. So again, why not just use the same day we were using for Columbus Day and just change the name? I'm not sure what the issue is over Columbus, but let's just change the name. And if Richard, of course, I suggested Richard Gordon Hatcher. If that's not available to the majority, let's just put in a new name. That's all, and let it stay there. The other way, I think, would be too disruptive. Somebody would have to police that. I'm not sure. Although as skillful as the council may be, that may be very difficult for them to police.
Well, Madam Chair, I like Councilman Lay point for us, Richard Gordon Hatcher. I would just like to do his actual either birthday or the day he was actually sworn in as the mayor of the city. That would be my only thing that I would like to do. So that way it is a standard date that's on the calendar that we will honor every year.
I guess, Madam Chair, my concern with that is that while that day is important perhaps for the city of Gary, it obviously the federal government, the county government, the school corporation, and all the rest won't necessarily have that day off. So if I'm a parent, a caretaker, or what have you, it'd be beneficial that I would have a day off that the whole nation recognizes, right? So from a convenience standpoint, that was one concern I had about using a particular day that's not nationally or recognized.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
Councilman Williams, I agree with Councilman Brewer as far as picking a particular day for and naming it.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand you.
I'm sorry, I'm enclosed in the room. I'm actually
You agree?
pulling myself away from work and trying to be in this meeting at the same time. Is there an echo?
You agree?
Hello?
with what?
We can
Give me
hear
one
you.
second. You can hear me? I just agree with Councilman Ron Brewer, which is the last statement he just made as far as with the holiday.
Madam Chairwoman,
Yes.
again, I sort of go along with Mr. Godwin. Let's look at the Martin Luther King. He was born on January the 15th, but we celebrated on the third Monday. It's a consistent holiday. I agree with, again, Councilman, or our president. We're all over the place. So again, the city would be off when everyone else is working. And if county government and other governments off on Columbus Day, let's keep that same day, just to be consistent. And it would make more sense to the people that are taking the day off. I'm not sure, but I believe the banks may even be closed on Columbus
They
Day.
open.
They open, okay.
Yeah, they open.
Again,
Well, we have to remember now, as I said, there is no election this year. So next year, when there is an election, then what? What do you plan to do?
well, the same way we use Columbus Day. What happens when there's no, Columbus Day don't coincide with the election, do it?
Yeah, it doesn't coincide with it, but we take that day as a holiday.
Councilwoman Brown,
Yes.
since the council approves holidays on a yearly basis, there's no reason why on an election year calendar, you can't just not have Columbus Day and have Election Day, or whatever the day is.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I would just ask that, I mean, is it the end of the world if employees get both October the 11th or the second Monday in October and Election Day? I mean, it's just an added benefit to our employees. We aren't offering raises. We don't do, appreciations. We don't have activities. What's an extra day going to kill us?
And that has been the case as well, where we've had both.
All right, so what are we doing?
Well, Madam Chair, well, I will make amendment. I know there's one amendment that's going to be probably put on the floor, but I will make one also. They're going to pretty much trigger both in some kind of way. We'll use December 13th as Mayor Hatcher Day, as that's the day that he died, that we will honor him on December 13th. That will fall on a Monday of this year, and we will honor him on that during that time there each year.
Did I understand that? I'm sorry, Madam Chairman, Chairwoman, may I ask a question? Is that the day he died?
That's the day he died, yes. He was born.
I don't know of anyone that's honored on the date of death.
Right.
Tends to honor. But again, this is probably a good idea for the majority, but we should probably do it on the day he was born.
So the day he was born was July the 10th is his birthday.
Yes, I know that he was 7 years older than I am. But it's still that if we're going to celebrate, let's do it on the day he was born, not the day he died.
I can agree with that.
So in the future, Madam Chair, when July 10th is on a Saturday or a Sunday, we will then not actually have it on July 10th, but it will end up being on, I guess, whatever that next, I will not vote for that, but it'll be on whatever that next Monday is. So it won't actually even be on his birthday if it falls on a weekend, right?
Yes, that would be the way they do Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
I'm just using it as an
Right.
example.
So I don't know. I think that maybe you all should survey the unions. I don't know what July 10th means to them. I mean, obviously it's important for Mayor Hatcher's legacy, but how much of a benefit is that after coming off the July 4th holiday? But we'll just, I guess, see what the pleasure of the council is.
Well, that's our responsibility. In other words, we giving them a day. Why are we going to let the union?
Right.
Well, I'm just saying, it just would seem that I'm trying to look at it from the employee standpoint, right? So how can we give something that is of utmost use and benefit to the employees of the city? And so if we're going to choose a holiday that is not recognized anywhere else but the city of Gary, I think they're our constituency too. So I would think their input would be valuable. I'm not saying we're going to do what they say, but it just would seem, I don't know, I'm just trying to be employee friendly and employee minded.
Yeah.
You'd have missed it this time. If the holiday falls on Saturday, Sunday goes to that Monday.
No, I'm saying July 10th, period, right? Not just whether it falls on a Monday.
Oh, I disagree with that. I think it should be a flow.
I do as well. because I don't
Oh, no,
think
no.
that's functional for the majority of employees, and it just puts us as an outlier that's not recognized anywhere else. It's inconsistent with, as I said earlier.
Well, I think, oh, never mind. I lost my train of thought.
But that's why I was using Dr. King. If his
Right.
birthday falls on a Saturday, you celebrate it on the third Monday of the month in January, you know.
Right. But I'm just saying, I prefer using something that's already a federal holiday. So the day would be if we're going to stick with Columbus Day, would be the second Monday in October. To the point I made earlier, sticking with a day that people, are generally seen to be off would be, I think, more of a benefit to the employees of the city.
Well,
Because if their kids are out of school or what have you, they would also be off. Right?
Yeah, but I thought the chief of staff said, okay, we would use the Columbus Day, name it Rich. She didn't say this. I'm saying this. Name it the Richard Gordon Hatcher Day. And the election year, they get the election day off.
And I'm with you. I'm
And
with
that
you.
is what happens.
We have
That-
to.
That's what I was saying. That's what happens. Next year, when there's an election in May and in November, they will get both days. So
Right, I agree to that. Yes.
we need to decide. Next year, they'll get them both.
So that would be the benefit. That would be the
Right.
benefit there.
Yes.
I agree with that.
well,
October.
I know before Martin Luther King was Martin Luther King National Holiday, the city of Gary was celebrating it before it became a national holiday.
Mhm.
So I think it starts somewhere. Katie Hall was definitely very instrumental in making sure that Martin Luther King's birthday became a national holiday. But Gary was celebrating Martin Luther King's birthday before it was even recognized as a national holiday. And I think it's a great contribution that we will celebrate our own Richard Gordon Hatcher, former mayor of this city here. We had planned to have a street named after him, and that has not happened. So I think this would be a good honor to make sure we have a holiday for him.
Okay. Well, I'm not opposed to that. I'm just saying we need to decide which we're going to do.
Madam
Well,
Chair, that's not quite accurate the way it went. We certainly were honoring Dr. Martin Luther King, but until the national holiday was passed, we were just honoring him on his date of birth. The national holiday became the third week in January, period. That's when it came into existence. We certainly discussed the national holiday. I believe I was the head of the Frontiers in no, that's not true. That's not true. That's not true. I made a mistake in terms of the date. But no, it became the national holiday when Katie passed it. Or when it was passed, I should say. That was the third Monday in January. So we celebrated it on basically trying to honor him on the 15th.
But are you suggesting that employees were off work prior to the national holiday, or was just our own city?
No,
no one got a day off, right?
No, they didn't get no day off now. They didn't get a day off. There just simply was an attempt to celebrate it. I don't recall a day off. I really don't. I know we gave Katie Hall the Drum Major Award in 1986 is when she was given that award. So it had to be in close proximity to that date that the national holiday came into existence. That's why I would say I was getting dates mixed up there for a moment.
Right,
But,
Madam Chair, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think I don't think that October the 11th, whatever, the second Monday in October, to me, making it, Richard Gordon Hatcher Day is a subversive move, right? We're taking a holiday, Columbus Day, that's very controversial and turning it on its head, right? And honoring a local hero on that day, right? So taking something that we know Columbus and the explorers and all the terrible things that they were part of, that's turning it on its head. But again, I just think it's consistent, and I don't think that the county or the state or the federal government or the schools are going to all of a sudden start taking off on July 10th. So I think that's different than a King Day where there was already a national movement in progress, and of course there was no actual days off until it became a federal holiday, and states and localities followed suit. But that's all I'm saying. I just think we should pick a day that's consistent with local and national norms, and still accomplish the same goal of honoring Mayor Hatcher. So we'll see.
Madam Chair, I just suggest that I think that's our only controversial issue there, and we just take it up for a vote during the next council meeting.
I agree.
Yes.
At the council meeting, yeah, we should take it up for a vote at the council meeting.
Okay, I agree with that. Okay. CPO 2020-83, which is an ordinance establishing a new fund, departments and budgets for Section 108 Loan Debt Reserve Fund.
Sorry. Madam Chairman, this particular ordinance establishes a new fund and department for the Section 108 Debt Reserve Fund. We are getting very close to beginning the repayment process for the loans that we took out with HUD for the rehabilitation of Hudson Campbell and the construction of the fire station in Glen Park. And according to the State Board of Accounts, it is necessary that we establish a separate fund and account, a separate fund and department to handle that repayment process. So that's what this ordinance accomplishes.
Okay. Questions, comments? Anybody? Okay. 2020-84, an ordinance appropriating funds for the special revenue budgets for the Fire and Parks Department for the fiscal year beginning January 1 and ending December 31.
Madam Chairman, we submitted special revenue funds for most of the city departments in December. These two departments were omitted in the last budget. We have the special revenue accounts for the fire department and the special revenue accounts for the park department. Essentially, I should have had my glasses on. Just a minute. The budgets for the fire department include the fire capital equipment fund, the fire watch fund, fire training, and EMS. These are the budgets I think that Councilwoman Atkins referred to earlier when we were talking about paramedics and EMTs. These are the civilian paramedics and EMTs. So we're requesting approval of these budgets for the 2021 calendar year. We also have budgets included in this package for the Hudson Campbell and Marquette Park. These are the estimated revenues and expenditures that we are setting forth for 2021 for these particular budgets.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I'm trying to find the revenue for Marquette Park. What page?
I'm sorry, sir.
You said projected revenue. Is it on the last page here?
I can see now that that's not the page that's in here. I'll give it to you, sir.
Okay.
But I do want to point this out, though, just in terms of both the Hudson, well, in particular Marquette Park, but also Hudson Campbell. The 2020 budgets were set at higher levels than the 2021. And this is, we are attempting to make an adjustment based on the COVID situation because we have reduced revenues. I will get you the revenue for Marquette Park. I thought it was in here already.
Thank you. That was the comment I was going to make. And You know, I know there was a lot of lauding about the fact that the revenues were so much higher in 2020 than 2019. But
Are they
we
gonna
did-
be in?
We did have higher revenues in certain
The
areas.
day room, looking at TV. That's why I say you can go to the game room and just,
Councilman Williams, you're
they say you're
unmuted.
looking out on them.
I'm sorry.
Okay,
Yes, I'm sorry. Sorry.
okay, thanks. So, yeah, so I know there was a lot of talk of
We had higher revenues in certain areas
parking.
in parks, but lower in others. So for example, we had higher revenues in the parking area.
Right,
You know, our beaches were open when other people's beaches were closed.
exactly.
We got
Right.
more money at that time, but we had fewer events, you know, at the pavilion. So it's that kind of offset that occurred.
Well, absolutely. I mean, 'cause my thing was, to me, there was a lot of comparing, oh, we made this much in parking in the summer of 2020, and they only made this lower amount in the summer of 2019. And I'm like, okay, the logic here is, to the point you just made, we're the only game in the area that's open. So of course, you're gonna have higher revenue. So I just wanted to make sure that that projection had come down closer to reality.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mhm. I'm done with that, madam.
Okay. All right, 85.
2020-85 is an ordinance approving subsidies for various city accounts for the calendar year ending December 31st, 2020. On a yearly basis, the city requests additional funding to support some of their, I'll say, enterprise accounts. The enterprise accounts are the Hudson Campbell Market Park, Genesis Center, those facilities that actually generate dollars, and they run their facility off of those dollars. Because revenues were down in 2020, it was necessary for us, it is necessary rather for us to subsidize the entities that we've listed here, the Hudson Campbell Marquette and Genesis Center. And the subsidy requested is in the amounts that are listed, and it comes from basically casino funds. There is a $70,000 subsidy from the general fund to Marquette, but generally it's the casino dollars that actually subsidize those entities. They have been funded, subsidized actually on a yearly basis for many years, because the income that comes in to those facilities does not totally support the operation. But in this is the amount that is needed for the 2020 calendar year.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Councilman.
So Attorney Colvin, so this amount will cover everything for all these different departments here, this subsidy that you have in place?
Yes.
Okay. And if they make any type of profit, do you look to receive any type of, or try and get any payment back?
Against these dollars?
Yes.
We usually, if they get in more money, say in 2021, that will be used to support their 2021 budget.
Okay.
So, well, of course, the Genesis Center won't be open, but I was gonna say, what about the Genesis Center? There are some times during the year when they do make money. And so
Right.
what do we do then?
Everybody who makes money in their particular facility, their dollars are used to support their budget. So if, just say the Marquette were to submit a $200,000 budget for a calendar year, any money that it makes during that year is used to come up with that $200,000. So that's how this works with all of these facilities.
Okay.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Again, my ignorance. So for example, what we're doing here is we're saying that the Genesis Center, for example, fell short roughly $180,000
Yes.
of its revenue for 2020. So now we're compensating the general fund in order to fill that gap, because basically the city has paid dollars that it did not receive back.
That's right.
Okay. And my second question is, while we're talking about the casino LDA, how much did they pay to us in 2020? I know we said they true up in January.
Yes. And
Now
they
in
paid that
January.
too.
So how much did they actually pay to us of the 6 million?
I wish I had the January payment because they've given us a January payment. They gave us 3.1 million, I think, in December. And then they've given us a payment recently. I need to get that number for you. But
Okay.
they have trued up.
So they did pay the whole 6 million
Yes,
today. Okay.
but I can give you the exact figures.
All right. Thank you.
Madam Chairman, Chairwoman, is that correct? They didn't pay the 6 million in 2020.
They are required to give us 6 million in a given year. If you
Right.
think about that, that means that in just say January of 2020, they gave us dollars that may have been due us in 2019. So we're always a little bit behind. They have not given us all 2020 money, if that's what you mean.
Right, right. That's what I was asking.
Oh, well, thank you, Councilman Lake, because I thought you had suggested that they had already, at this point in the year, had covered all their 2020 obligation.
That's not how it's paid. Usually in January, they true up. And
Okay,
the true up is usually some amount of money that comes from the previous year's dollars. In a given calendar year, though, they do give us $6 million.
So now that we're January 12th, and there are, I don't know, 19 days left this month, do we expect in the next 19 days that they will have covered the total $6 million that was due in 2020?
They'll be closer than they have been previously. And I don't want to give you numbers.
That's okay.
But I can tell you that. I mean, I can get that to you.
Thank you.
Because generally the amount they pay in January is more than they had to true up this year. In other words, like say in 2020, if I recall correctly, they may have given us $1 million something, $1.9 million or something like that. Well, this year, the amount should have been around 500,000. So they've come closer to actually giving us everything that we were due in 2020 than they have been in the past, if you see how I'm trying to explain. But I'll give you the exact numbers.
Because you're not including, when you say you're not including what they gave in January of 2020 in terms of their 2020 contribution.
It's not our 2020, what am I trying? It's part of our 6 million that we would be due in 2020, but it's not a $6 million allocation or, do you understand what I mean?
I understand.
Okay.
Yep, I understand.
Madam Chair, I just want to mention inside the subsidy, it does not cover the utility costs for any of these facilities also.
These are all payroll or vendor payment expenses.
Right,
And you're
but
right, the utilities are paid directly.
absolutely. So I just want to make sure that number is not calculated inside of here.
Then let me also, if I may, Madam Chair, since we're talking about the Genesis Center, I know that the redevelopment signed a purchase agreement with, I think, Acumen Industries Corp. And so I suppose that we did budget dollars for the Genesis Center because our budget is now reverted back to 2020. How do you anticipate using those dollars that have been allocated for the Genesis Center now that Acumen, I think, their purchase agreement calls for them to pay the utility bills and I guess
we have allocated dollars in general for utilities, and the Genesis Center, of course, was included in that amount, but we don't have an actual budget for 2021 for the Genesis Center. Is that what you meant?
I guess I'm trying to, we're dealing this year with the 2020 budget because we weren't able to successfully pass a budget. Right. So the budget that the mayor presented for 21 was not supported by this council. Our amendment was vetoed and not overridden. So we're therefore stuck with 2020. The 2020 budget would have assumed revenue and allocated expenses toward the Genesis Center, correct?
Are you talking about like these payroll expenses, or are you talking about
Everything. Everything, right? So since we reverted back to 2020, right, that budget is going to assume both revenue and expenses for an entity that has now, I guess, been transferred to a private corporation who is now, so we won't be having any events, right, that will inure to the benefit of the Genesis Center, nor will we have the expenses, since that agreement, as I read it, requires that they now own it, right? I mean, at least they don't produce the $2.1 million in, I guess, 3 months, then it will revert back to the city or redevelopment. But we're assuming that they're now going to be responsible for it. So how are you kind of taking into consideration those dollars that have been allocated to it?
The Genesis Center never had a 2021 budget, reverted to 2020 or not. The council has not approved a 2021, like a special revenue budget that was what you would normally have. Just see how they approve the budget for Marquette. You've never approved one for the Genesis Center for 2021.
Right. So when we did, if I may, when we looked at the special revenue, I believe it was in November, it did initially, but then Attorney Colvin submitted an amendment that it actually pulled out anything related to the Genesis Center because of the pending purchase. So when we did approve, I forget what ordinance number it was, it did not include anything for the Genesis Center.
That's right.
And so that was approved. The only thing that reverted back to the 22 budget was the operating, which was 50 and then 51 for the salaries.
Right.
So it was a separate ordinance number that did not revert. Right. So the special revenue budget was the 2021 budget. We did approve the 2021 budget, and it did not include anything for the Genesis Center. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you. So that means that, to your point, nothing has been budgeted for this year. So the utility bill that's going to be due, I guess, in early February or January is going to not be paid by the city, but be paid by the new owner. Is that correct?
I can't speak to that because I don't know the terms of what the contract was. All I know is that if the Genesis Center is still a city-owned building, then we'll pay the bill. If it's not a city-owned building, then we won't.
So some of us were at the redevelopment meeting. I don't want to belabor the point, but it has been sold, right? I know there's a contingency in that agreement that if they don't pay up the rest of the amount of money that's due, it will revert. That basically it has a reversionary clause into it. If they don't meet their obligations, and it reverts back to redevelopment. So I guess the question I'd ask for you, and I'd like if we could have an answer at our next council meeting, is who owns it, right? And secondly, will they be paying the utility bill and all other expenses required in that purchase agreement for the month of January?
Okay.
Thank you.
Madam Chairwoman,
Yes.
if they have acquired ownership where it would be reverting back, there's no question they have to pay the expenses. I mean, assume they paid it, whatever the figure is. I don't know it as accurate as you know it, but yes, they're responsible. And it's just like a lease with the right to purchase. They would have to pay all of the expenses. It just couldn't be a contract written any other way.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would assume they're using the Genesis Center. If nothing else, they leave it unoccupied as their use. I mean, they could either use it for something or it would remain unoccupied, but they would have to be responsible for the expense. If not, then it's a bad contract.
And I agree. And if I may, Madam Chair, I see that our city attorney is on, and I think he may or may not have participated in the drafting of that purchase agreement, which I have read. But Attorney Pohl, can you confirm that I'm accurate about what I'm saying in terms of who owns it and who's responsible for it? Attorney Pohl? You're muted.
He's muted.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Did you hear my question?
I did not. Could you please repeat it?
Okay. So the question is, who owns the Genesis Center as of today, right? The legal owner, right?
Yep.
And will that legal owner, assuming it's not still the city of Gary or redevelopment, will that new owner pay the January utility bill and any other expenses associated per their contract as it relates to the Genesis Center.
Well, the contract it has not closed yet. As of today, the answer to your first question is the city of Gary is still the owner as of right now. There's supposed to be a closing proposed for next week. So the meeting that you guys were at, there was just the agreement to sell. Now that is now to the point where they're going to be closing. At that point, then all ownership and utilities and everything would transfer over.
So have any modifications beyond what this meeting I was in been made to that contract, or material modifications?
Not to my knowledge. I can double check, but I don't think there have been any material modifications as of since the meeting. I can double check that though and report back.
Okay, so thank you. That gives me my answer, but I will come back in February to ask the same question.
Yeah.
So, and I would suspect that the utility bills with NIPSCO will be transferred into the name of this new entity. Thank you.
But only after the date of closing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Madam Chair,
Oh, I'm sorry.
if I may, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Okay. Attorney Colvin, I just had one question again. This question is for understanding. I see on here, there was a subsidy for the Hudson Campbell. Does the, was it the 108 loan also adhere to the Hudson Campbell? Could you, yeah,
We use the 108 loan to do rehab at the Hudson Campbell.
just for the rehab, okay. So I was, okay. I have a question too, since payroll is on here. I know the Hudson Campbell is also under the Parks Department. Have you all identified who is currently, I guess, the Director of Parks at this time? Or is that position still open?
The superintendent?
Yes,
It's
ma'am.
still open. It's still open.
Okay,
We're reviewing resumes now.
okay. When that position is filled, can you make sure, or, whoever, someone from the administration informs the council
Okay,
that is completed?
okay.
Madam Chairperson,
Yes.
I noticed the chief of staff used the word superintendent. The superintendent requires very special qualification. Y'all probably are looking for a director.
Director of Parks.
Yeah, you're looking for a director, not a superintendent.
That's right.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
speaking of the Hudson and Campbell, no, it's still open and it's a fitness facility. My questions are COVID concern. What additional steps are being taken to making sure that the facility is being clean, and has their extra equipment been purchased for Hudson and Campbell?
The Hudson Campbell director is on, Christine Gooden. I don't know if she can hear me to unmute. So she can answer that, I think.
Okay, see, she's muted.
I'll see if I can text her.
And would like to know, what is the capacity rate of the facility during this time? And does the mask requirement still apply for the fitness center?
Okay, hello. I'm sorry, I was trying to unmute.
Okay.
We have adjusted our hours. So on Mondays and Fridays, when the city is, when the rest of the offices is closed, we have a deep cleaning in the morning. So on Monday mornings, we are closed and we don't open to 2, and that's for our deep cleaning from the weekend. And on Fridays, before the weekend, we are closed at 2 to prepare for the weekend. We have closed, shut down how we do our basketball is a sign up. So you can only get 30 minutes. We try to rotate how many people come in for basketball. No more than 10 people at a time to do basketball. We have people like section off. We have it marked off downstairs and upstairs for basketball. So the facility total, we don't have no more than 150 people at a time in the facility. And we do have constant people in doing cleaning, wiping down. We have extra cleaning supplies throughout the facility.
No special equipment or anything for sanitizing?
We don't have No, we don't have like the special, like the air equipment. No, we just have like the extra sanitation equipment.
Okay.
And Dr. Walker has been over there to check things out.
Is there a capacity limit at this time? And as far as mask requirement, is that also required?
Well, what we have it set for, we have it set as 150 people, and that's for the whole building. No more than 100.
What is your normal capacity?
Normal capacity, we can have 300 to 400 people at full capacity. And that's with the racquetball area, the full basketball court downstairs, the aerobic room, and the full upstairs.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
Anyone else?
I have a question about something else, a couple questions, but I'll let this 85 close out first.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair. For Controller, Chief of Staff, Attorney Colvin, a few things. Just a reminder, the 15th, look forward to the financial update. And I think some of the questions will probably be applicable to that. Also wanted to see if you could send the Public Works meeting info for tomorrow, the Zoom, or have somebody send that.
I texted to you.
Did you do? Okay.
You want me to send it by email?
That's fine. If you texted, I got it. But
Okay.
I know that one of the things that is of concern is that and we talked about it, so I hope it's resolved, that our attorney as well as our financial advisor, their contracts have not been approved. And we certainly need to make sure that is done. And so I'm hopeful that that happens at the Board of Public Works meeting in the morning. The other thing is the CARES Act dollars. So I'm understanding that the city received somewhere around $2 million in 2020 from the federal government through the state government.
We actually, it should have hit the bank yesterday.
Okay, so you now have it. I would like to hear or see what the plan is for the use of those dollars. So the 15th might be too soon, but certainly by the next council meeting or at some point around that, how the administration intends to use those new dollars. And I suppose that we will receive them officially, the Finance Committee, on the 19th. The next piece is the 224 account. I want to make sure that we know how much money is in that account on the 15th. One area of legislative interest to me, and I'm sure that some of my colleagues on the council who are here, and I'm probably going to maybe misrepresent what happened, but I certainly want to be educated. So I know there was a big debate about 224 and where the money was going, and funds were taken out without council approval. But my understanding is that the actual ordinance for it had it where the city automatically got half of those dollars anyway. And then it's my understanding that the council took an action whereby the city would not get those dollars automatically. And I want to kind of look into that again and see see if we can change that back, where the city would be able to get 50% of those dollars, which is what I understand the original ordinance allowed for.
It did.
So I think there was a little bit of an overreaction because of the media storm and all the rest around the fact that the dollars were spent without the council approval. But it seems as we look at all these expenses, why not take some of those dollars that were originally due to us, right, and use them to fill in the gaps, give raises to public safety, and other things that the city may want to do. Just lastly, and I will say more about this at the next council meeting, the city of Gary has a lot of unclaimed property. So if you go to the state of Indiana unclaimed property website, there are, I think, nearly 100 items of unclaimed property. I don't know how much money that is going to equal to, but the state of Indiana website will tell you if it's over a certain amount. I think there's a lot of them that are over $100. So I'm going to ask that the city look into claiming that unclaimed property. It's through the Attorney General's office. I know personally, I had nearly $400 of money I didn't know I had. And there's a lot of citizens who don't know. You know, there's certain payouts from insurance companies, et cetera. And so I'll be encouraging not only the city, but all residents to go onto the website and check if they have unclaimed property. But I know we have somewhere near 100 items that are due us. So I'll follow up on those at the next council meeting. Thank you.
Okay.
Madam Chairwoman, I have a question of Mr. Godwin. Am I to understand you're talking about taking the money from 224 and paying salaries?
No, I would like for it to go to the general fund, and then of course the city could apportion it as they see fit. I'm sure there's plenty of places where we need additional revenue even to meet our budgeted allocations. So my understanding, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is that prior to all the hoopla, the actual ordinance had already stated that it wasn't some exceptional thing for the city to get dollars from 224. It just needed the approval. But then after all the firestorm, the council went back and changed the ordinance whereby the general fund wouldn't get any, was not entitled to anything from 224. If I'm wrong about that change, love to be educated.
Well, that sounds accurate, but again, the State Board of Accounts used an escape clause to say there was something wrong with the ordinance. But the spirit and intent of the council at that time was for all of the money to stay there, for the city not to get any. Then after the city spent the money, they then said, in fact, the council had me take a look at it. After they spent the money, then they said, well, the ordinance was incorrect. Therefore, they would not find an ordered exception. Again, I saw it as an escape clause. But as long as you're not talking about taking that money and somehow paying salaries, I have no objection to what you said. If it's possible, I'd like to make an announcement and at this point and to say something I'm recommending. I've discussed it with the mayor and he and I temporarily disagreed. I believe all elected officials should come to the front of the line, and I'll explain why in terms of the shot. And the reason for that, I continue to run into people that say they're very suspicious about the shot. I've had it, and I'm going to disclose that I believe Councilwoman Brown has had it. We're the young people on the council, so they have given us the shot off already. It has absolutely nothing to do with us being members of the council. But I think we have to take a leadership role. Several of my friends who are with me now, who may not be with me later, are saying they're not going to take it. It defies logic why they wouldn't. So I think if the elected officials, those that are willing to take it and also announce it, I believe, and especially among the African Americans, especially among the females, the people that I'm running into the most say they're not going to take it are females, which is quite surprising. So I've taken it. So no one call me like Attorney Poe or Attorney Williams or Attorney Godwin and ask me were there any side effects. No, you will be no smarter and you will look no better. So yeah, I would suggest we do that. Also
but Councilman Lay, you have been really nice tonight, so I don't know.
No, I follow the protocol.
It's working. It's really working.
During the council meeting, I will follow the protocol suggested by Councilman Cozy Witherspoon. On 19th and Broadway, there will be a sign put up, a COVID-19 vaccination sign indicating the website. There will be several numbers. The first number is 211. That is, I would assume, to the state itself. I've been unable to get through that number. Another number, which was supplied by the mayor, 219-318-0675. I don't expect anyone to remember all of this. We will, in fact, put and also my number in the event you fail to get the first two numbers, but hopefully you'll get somebody in the first two to assist people And the mayor has indicated he and I discussed that, setting up some way of assisting people, one, that don't have computers, not computer savvy, in terms of how to get the vaccination, because it took me about a day to figure it out. Also, matter of fact, the lesser half, you notice I said of Councilwoman Brown, help me do this, or I might still not have the shot, along with the city judge. Another thing I think was important, Dynamic Professional Solutions, which is a disinfectant service company, is also assisting in paying for this sign. I feel I have to give them certainly recognition for that. So 2 signs are going up on Broadway at 19th, and hopefully people that see it will make the necessary call. But I am, and again, the mayor says, well, he wouldn't want to jump to the front of the line. I think he should, because if your leadership won't take it, then there are going to be a lot of other people that refuse to take it. Because if the doctors and nurses die, then we dead anyway. It's just a matter of when you're going to catch the virus and die. If the vaccination is not working. So I have a loved one that I don't know what she going to do, but I'll figure it out later. But those comments, I will talk in greater detail tomorrow when I appear on WLTH. That's it, Madam Chairperson.
Okay. Okay, if that's it. Is there another ordinance here? Nice. I'm sorry. 80. Huh? That's not me. Whose is that? That's yours, Ron.
That's mine. Yes.
Did you do it already?
No, I'm next. We're gonna log out of your meeting. So as soon as you close us out, I'll start my meeting.
Okay. All right. Then if there are no other ordinances and there's no other discussion for the Finance Committee, then we're done. We'll
Madam
move
Chair.
on.
Madam Chair, if I could make one correction, and one thing, President Godwin had asked earlier about any major revisions, and I did double check that there have not been any major revisions. And then I wanted to apologize. I was lazy in saying something earlier. I stated that the city owns the building. It's actually the redevelopment commission that owns the building over at Genesis Centers. I did want to make sure that I noted that I had found that out since we had discussed it. So, and that's it.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Okay, I thank you.